Okay, hello everyone. My name is Amy Poehler, and I'm here talking to the filmmakers, producers, and the talent actor source of the film A Swim Lesson, beautiful short. And we're going to have a conversation today just about the work and how special it is. And so, Will, Rashida, Bill, thank you for being on the Zoom and for asking me to do it.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
So I just want to ask all of you, Rashida Jones, Will McCormack, Bill Marsh, this film, A Swim Lesson, is ostensibly about the contract between teacher and student and the lessons within that. Can you explain what, for someone who hasn't watched the short yet, what would be the shortest and most concise way that you describe the work that you made?
Well, for me, I would say the most important thing is 10 kids drowned every day. And it's an unnecessary thing. So it's a preventable, accident. And so it seems to me, if the movie can do anything, it can make people aware that that doesn't have to happen, or it doesn't have to happen as much,
Yeah, I mean, that is absolutely the priority with the film. And then also within Bill's teaching, there's so many kernels of truth and wisdom in terms of how we all live our lives, starting at 2 years old and never ending until we're not here anymore. That, I think Will and I felt spoke to us as parents, as people living in the world. It is about the pool, and it's also not about the pool. It's both.
Will, do you feel the same?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, being a parent, the first thing you worry about, especially in Southern California, is, your child's safety. But then the movie, just as we were filming and getting to know Bill, it really evolved into something more. I think in life, we're always sort of scrolling, and we're always sort of like imagining what's next. And I think because of Bill, it really just became a testament to presence. Something that was so ordinary and so quotidian and so mundane became suddenly extraordinary. And I think a great teacher has the ability to do that, to take something that you do every day and say, like, oh my gosh, this is one of the most extraordinary things you can do. Like, your kid is not just learning how to swim, he's actually learning how to survive and then learning how to fly. So something that just felt very ordinary became extraordinary. And that's a testament to Bill, who's just a profoundly brilliant teacher. And teachers can do that.
I have to say, though, that that's great of you to say, but the film that you guys made, it speaks to everybody in a unique way. And to me, that's a sign of great art. And that is speaking to the subconscious, to every viewer, in a unique way. And I know that because I've gotten 15 different versions of what this movie is about. One guy went to treatment afterwards. One guy said, my mom taught me how to swim, and I love her so much, I got to send her the movie. Someone is an artist, and he said, if I don't face my failure, I drown. So it's like, wow, you got to hand it to the filmmakers who created, a little work of art that speaks to on so many levels to people.
Well, that's a great point, Rashida and Will. What feedback have you gotten from people who've seen the short? What has it brought up for them, and what have you heard back?
Like Bill said, so many different versions. I mean, I do think there's a lot in Bill's teachings. Certainly parenting stuff. I think people start to kind of observe themselves as parents, whether they have older kids or little kids, like, wow, there's another way to do this. Or I might be doing my kid a disservice by kind of standing in their way or making things easier for them or worrying so much about their pain that I forget that they have their own life and destiny and process. And that's like a big, big thing to get. I mean, that's, for me, that's a giant lesson, is to sort of like be a supporter, a loving supporter of my son in a way that doesn't stand in the way of his own journey. Like that feels like a giant message. And then I think also some people, yeah, like you said, they face their fears every day. And this movie shows them that there's more to come and that it never ends. Like this sort of moment where you're sitting on a step and you're looking at the deep unknown, the abyss of your life, it never ends, you know? And I think people really get that.
Yeah. Yes, to echo Rashida and Bill. I mean, I think that the definition of heartbreak is letting go. And it's sort of like parenthood is truly letting go. It's different stages of letting go. And this moment in your life as a parent is the first moment where you really do need to let go in a long journey of letting go. And I've had so many parents reach out to me and say, you know, this feels like the art of parenting, where it's okay for your kid to go through the pain, and you don't have to fix it for them. You just have to be there for them. And to me, I'm also really moved, like Rashida said, by people who don't have kids and who said like, oh, I have enormous fear in my life, and this movie gave the ability to look at it and face it in a new way, and know that you can't get the treasures unless you face the dragon. So, you know, tons of parents, but then also people just going through whatever struggle they are in their life. That's meant a lot to me too.
Well, there's so much stylistically in the way that you made this film that's kind of indulging in the beauty of the struggle, like that, how suffering, the fire of suffering can get us to another place. It's a real meditation on that, Bill, what you talk about in terms of how you approach your work, about really staying in the moment and letting things flow. And Will and Rashida, the way the film looks, which is so gorgeous and ethereal, and at times we really don't know if we're under the water, if we're up in the sky. We really kind of don't know where we are in a beautiful way. We're all over the place, much like The Lesson, which has its own flow. Can you talk a little bit about you know, how you made the film so beautiful and how you made it sound so beautiful, both the music and the underwater visuals and the way the children are in that water? Can you speak a little bit about that?
I love the beauty of the struggle, Amy. That feels like that sums up so much in a sense, because I think Will and I thematically were always wanting to like mind that, which is like, it is, things are hard and they're also beautiful and funny and joyful and you know, inspirational if you can really just stay in the struggle. But I think for this, like, obviously water and the feeling of the kind of fluidity of water, whether it be with the music or the actual visuals, was super important to us. We had an incredible team, which is why it is the way that it is. Alexander Alexandrov, who's our DP, did a beautiful job. He was underwater in a scuba suit at the bottom of the pool, really getting that kind of like that feeling that, you know, you're in the ocean in some way. It kind of feels like that. And we had a great sound design done by Ethan Arluck. He, you know, managed to kind of like balance that thing where you have that sort of like echoey whale sounds, but also really like crisp dialogues. You like got a sense of what Bill and the kids were having a conversation about. And then we also did things like we pulled back a lot on the screaming and crying, because it was intense. Like, it was super intense. And I think, you know, I think Bill is used to it because he's in this process all the time. But I think for the viewer who's seeing this for the first time, you need to kind of build to that moment so that you weren't like, oh no, I don't think I can bear this anymore. So we tried to use that sparingly in that way.
Yeah. You know, we come from water and we're comprised of water, and the whole thing felt like like a watery opera, right from the moment
Mhm.
that the kids got in the pool. The whole thing had a musicality to it. Bill and Rashida have a musicality to them, and the kids, um, everything felt like we could hear it from the moment we started making it. The kids' fingertips on the side of the pool felt like the keys of a piano. The shrieks and the whole thing felt like an opera. So it was really driven. It sounds crazy, but it was really driven by music and water through the whole thing. It felt like these threads that were carrying us through, and the subconscious of that. And we just sort of followed that. And it was fun as storytellers to like let that guide you.
No, when Rashida was talking about the parenting, it reminded me that there was a funny time I was teaching, and it was the first day and the first moments, and the mom and dad come up and they're holding their kid, and he's like, I don't want to get in there. Ah. And they hand him over to me, and I take him. And within 15 seconds, the dad goes, everything we're doing is wrong. And it was just, I'll never forget that moment because it was funny. But whatever he saw, he recognized. And I think it was getting to what Will and Rashida are talking about, which is it's the, life is painful, life is a struggle, but we joyfully participate in the sorrows.
I mean, it's such a life-affirming piece that you made. It is exactly that. It makes you feel alive and part of a bigger community and world. And I know, Bill, that so you've spoken very openly about being a teacher and what it's done for you, not only what you've done for others, like
Oh, yeah.
what has the experience of your many years of teaching young kids how to swim, what has it done for you? And then my other question for all of you is, how do you stay a student when you're asked to be a teacher? How do you keep learning when you're supposed to be the expert?
Ooh.
I'm not joking when I say the kids have taught me everything I know.
Mhm.
And it was just from listening, watching. It's obvious if you say to a kid, kick your legs or something, they go, and then you try again, and they're like, you try again, and then they're gone. So listening to instructions about detailed body motor function, it's not their strong point. So they just taught me that, So, and they also taught me that they don't want to be told to not cry, So for me, my biggest teacher is the golden rule. Like, how would I want to be treated? And when I'm crying, do I want to say, don't cry, I'll give you a sucker if you don't cry. We'll go to the get ice cream if you don't cry. Do you want to hear that? I don't want to hear that. I want to let me cry a little bit and, leave me alone for a sec. So they showed me that if you allow them to have their feelings without trying to change it, they go right through that. And I didn't need to say anything. And now they had their experience, they own it, and they're done. So it's examples like that I'm learning all the time because they're always teaching me what they're good at, what they're not good at. And it comes from the golden rule. Pay attention, look at them. What does it look like? And I've gotten there's a kid crying, but it could be for many different reasons. And you can see what those different reasons are. You can tell with body language or with vocal hints. Like if a kid example is like if you say, okay, we're going to do this now, and they go, no, that's not fear. That's not fear. Fear looks a lot different. Fear looks like, no. So there's all the subtleties of those cues that they're giving me all the time. And back to that parent who said, it was a hilarious moment. Everything we're doing is wrong. But I realized that the truth is not owned by anybody. It's out there. It exists, and we know it. We know the truth. And when we see it, it's like a bell that rings and we go, yeah, that's what it is. And I mean, like we have phrases like the truth is like, it rings the truth. It rang the truth, right?
Yeah.
Why do we have that saying?
Yeah.
Because we know what the truth is.
Mm.
So parents will come up to me and they'll say, hey, Bill, I don't know because of what am I saying? Like, if you're asking me, you already know the answer.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think the truth is out there, and then we just recognize it in life over and over. You know, we know when it's true. And we also know when, oh God, I've been bullshitting myself here. I knew that was the truth all along. You know?
It's exactly what Bill said, which is like, you know, well, two things. One is if you're leading, I think you can only be a great leader if you're listening. I mean, there's just no way that you can teach or lead or be in charge and be good unless you're actually you stay curious and you stay listening. And I've said this before, but like this is such a wonderful job to be able to direct documentary because it makes me have to be the kind of person I want to be. It makes me have to be present and be a good listener and dial into people and, you know, feel connected and empathetic towards anybody that I'm talking to, because if I don't do that, then I will miss the story and I won't be good at leading. That's kind of number one. And then also, like, you know, somebody, I don't know, said to me that if you want to learn something, teach it, because that's how you kind of remember it. So for me, it's like this sort of, I'm doing this for myself because I want to learn from Bill. I want to learn from the kids. I want to learn from anything that I'm, you know, participating in. And so I get to teach it we get to teach it by putting it out there to other people. It helps it stick with me. And every time we all talk, and anytime we've ever talked about this movie, like I feel like I get to grow and learn. Like it doesn't ever stop. And anybody who thinks they got it right, or they're just lying to themselves. Like it doesn't stop. It never, ever, ever stops. And like my dad was the person who instilled that in me from a very young age. Like you just don't stop learning. You don't stop growing. It doesn't matter like where you find your successes. That doesn't stop. It can't.
Yeah, being near Rashida for this many years, and that no one sort of embodies that more. She's so curious and such a student, and always learning and always evolving. And it's just been like a joy to witness that. I mean, for me, being the third, and having two older sisters, I've always felt like a beginner. I've always felt like a student. I always felt like I was learning from people that were around me. But I think also as like I've gotten older, you know, in my work, the thing that I'm really looking for is to not know what happens next. I want to be surprised. And for me, it's sort of like, you know, when you go to bed at night and you fall asleep and you dream and you have that dream, but you don't know where it came from, but it came from you. But how could it have come from you? Because you don't even remember it, but you wake up and remember something. Like I'm sort of going for a version of that in my work where like, I want to lose control and I want to surrender and I want to be surprised. Because if I know what's happening next, it's just not as great because the surprise is, I think, what we're all going for in the work. And in order to do that, you have to like let go and be afraid and listen and wait.
Also, you're that's acceptance because you don't know what's going to happen next. So like we can't control it. So the fact that you're wanting that is aligned with the reality that like we don't know what's going to happen next, which is great.
Yeah.
From the feedback I've gotten, the movie's hardly about swimming at all.
Yeah. You just even mentioning hoping that your process is feeling like a dream that's kind of not in your control is exactly what the film feels like. It feels like this dream that and a ride that you're on. And Bill, you're keeping us you're kind of keeping us safe throughout it, really, is what it feels like. You're keeping us safe throughout it. We know we're in good hands, just like the people that you're instructing. And I just have to say that the hero's journey of these characters in such a short amount of time, the way we invest in them early, that the stakes are really high. They are, just like you said in the beginning of this Zoom, Bill, they really are life or death stakes that we're talking about here. It isn't just, oh, I hope this young person can find a way to broaden their horizons and feel good about themselves. This is, how do you keep yourself alive? And when you imbue that in the people that you teach, you know, and we should say you teach all ages, and there are all ages of people who can't swim, as you point out in the film.
Yeah.
When we watch that gift, I wouldn't say being given by you, but being witnessed by you, as you talk about, it's so moving, because we've really invested in the characters and the journey of the people that you've set up in such a short amount of time. And we really care about whether or not they are going to learn, they're going to, you know, get the lesson, or if they're gonna teach themselves. And the look on the faces of the kids when they push past whatever is in the way is amazing. It's just, it's such amazing. It must be amazing to witness that in real time as filmmakers, and Bill as an instructor. It must.
And that's, I remember now, that was the question I think you asked about, was positive reinforcement. And when you know, obliterate that moment with your need to be the one who says, hey, you did it, buddy, you did it, you take away from them their experience of realizing it for themselves. I'm so glad you guys caught that on the kids' faces so many times, because that's the reason I do it, that moment. And I see it for every kid, and it's magical every time. It really is.
It's kind of like what you've all captured what self-love looks like somehow in that moment. It's really moving. It's special. So for those of you that have gotten to the end of this and are listening, I'm so honored to be talking about a swim lesson with the filmmakers today or tonight or this afternoon or whenever you're watching it. And just congratulations on a beautiful short and the work that you've done. And I just think you've made a beautiful piece of art out in the world that is speaking to so many people for so many reasons. So congratulations to you all.
Thanks, Amy. Thank you so much for talking to us and asking such great questions.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
See you all.